Castro Art fans? It's your boy Castro Art, and on today's Talking Art with Castro Art, I have a very special guest on episode number 3. He is my spiritual mentor. He is a great person. He's well loved in Las Vegas. Author, senior pastor of Central Church, JUD WILHITE.
Hey, what an honor to be with you.
No,
Man.
thank you, man.
You.
Thank you for
Appreciate
doing this.
you.
I appreciate this. I know you're a busy guy. So tell the Las Vegas, what are you up to? Anything exciting? Any projects you're working on? Or
Well, man, I'm always really excited about what God's doing through people in Las Vegas. I'm probably more excited about what God's doing through people like you than people like me. That's my job, is to empower everybody else to go after their dreams. And so I love watching people succeed and watching them win. And so feel super honored to just play some little part in people's lives, cheering them on.
Oh, well, he's been I always tell him, he's like in Rocky, Father Carmine. When I always text this guy, like, please pray for me.
Pray for me, man, yes.
Yeah, and he hooks it up. And I'm
like,
so
I got you.
So let's talk about art. Tell the people, what's your experience with art itself in general?
Well, I feel like art is like connected to what's true and good and beautiful in the world, or much art is. It's a reflection of that. As a person of faith, I feel like kind of, all truth and all beauty and all goodness is spiritual. It's all spiritual.
Amen.
And that art can, whatever kind of art it is, right? Yep. Can capture that.
Music, yeah, for sure.
Music, yeah. So, there's lots of different kind of ways that can get captured, but it's a reflection of God and His creativity and His goodness. To me, I just look around at nature and I see, every day, right, is a
God's
canvas.
Art, for sure.
Like every morning is amazing painting, which you can actually do a painting, to reflect that. I can just stand in awe of all of it, but I think it does remind us of something bigger than ourselves.
True.
To.
And you're a fan of jazz, I know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an art form. So
absolutely.
What is when you listen to jazz? What is it about jazz that inspires you? Or
well, I love that and I feel this way about speaking. In my own way, speaking is an art form. And I feel like it's sort of like jazz. Because, if you listen to me on a weekend, every talk's different. It's similar, right? It's the same structure, it's the same framework, just like jazz. You're playing over old standards, old songs. Everybody knows the framework, but then within that, every time it's different. You go a little different place over here. You do a little riff over there. That's a D minor chord. You know what to play under the D minor chord, but then you start kind of riffing off. Going a different direction, and that's what makes it awesome. It's not the same every time. And so, like on a given weekend for me as a communicator, I'll have moments where from an artistic, creative standpoint, I'll feel like, I'll walk off and be like, I'm not even sure what I said, but that was inspired.
It was, yes.
Yes. And the next service, it may not feel quite the same way. I don't know that people perceive it that way, but I would, perceive it that way.
So do you switch it up? Do you improvise on different sermons?
I improvise is the word I use, right? It's the structure is there. It's similar. It's probably 80% the same, but it's that 20% that could go any direction,
sure.
So.
And he's an author too. So when you write, does that help you release stress? Or, it's an art form.
It's a creative process, right?
Process. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I feel like writing, especially for me, like, I don't know how you feel about drawing and painting, but man, it's where creativity meets the grind, like it's just, it's not all just spontaneity and fun, right? Then there's the hard work, lots of hours of shaping and crafting
and switching it.
Switching it, making it. So I feel like speaking is more spontaneous for me, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. I'd like to hear how that.
Same thing. Oh, I love freestyle like these. Or freestyle. It's all freestyle.
These are the coolest shoes ever. If you ever come to Central Church, you'll see me wearing these shoes. It's my favorite verse out of the Bible, Romans 8:31.
Yeah, man.
Come on, man. Thank you for doing that for me.
Oh no, my pleasure.
No. So I feel like there's that kind of spontaneity, improv. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When it comes to writing, that's a much more refined thing where you take it through drafts and drafts and drafts and drafts and drafts, and you're trying to sort of get it there where when people actually read it the first time, you communicate.
And what would you say to people that, I know there's beginning artists that follow me. What would you say to someone that's trying to find their way and trying to be themselves? And what would be your advice to them?
I heard something that I thought was brilliant years ago. It was in a book called Writing Down the Bones, and it was written by an artist. I can't even remember the artist's name now, but one of the things she said that has stuck with me my whole life is she said, painters paint, writers write. she said, it's not about like writers, for instance, can get really caught up in being published.
Yes. Yeah.
She's like, hey, why are you so worried about being published? Writers write. Are you writing every day? If you're not writing every day, you're not a writer. If you're not painting on a regular basis, you're not a painter.
Right.
If you're not sketching and drawing, then you're not a sketch artist. You're not a like.
Amen.
Like it's the craft of doing it first, more than the success of what others may say. You don't need external validation to be creative and to go after your art and go after what God's putting in your heart. You just got to do it, right? So, I think for me as a writer, I've got a lot of journals filled up nobody will ever read. Yeah. That was part of my process, right? And I feel like, for artists too, like painters paint, people who do sculpture.
Yes.
So do it and love the process and grow in it as you do it and be more concerned about that than other people's validation.
That's beautiful. I think we all need to hear that, especially with social media and all that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because if you compare, you will be discontent,
exactly.
Right?
Amen.
I mean, just like immediately. And it even happens with like pastors and stuff. Like,
really?
just, everybody looks at everybody else and you're like, oh man, that person's really good. Wow, I wish I was like that. And like just whatever it is.
So you're human too. You just
absolutely. I think we all do that. I feel like I love social media. I'm totally engaged in social media. And then some days I feel like, man, it is a changing the game when it comes to discontent and comparison and some of the traps